Welcome to Tech Capture. So in this video, we are going to see what is EC2 instance in AWS. So EC2 is a most famous AWS service. So we'll see the basic stuff about EC2 and how to launch your first EC2 instance and how we can log in into our first EC2 instance. So before that, just try to understand what is this EC2. So EC2, this the full form of EC2 is Elastic Compute Cloud, that is a virtual server in AWS cloud. So each of the cloud provider will provide their virtual server. So in Google Cloud it's GCE, that is Google Compute Engine. In Azure it is a virtual machine. Similarly in AWS they are just having bit a different naming convention, that is EC2, but it is nothing but the virtual server, or you can say virtual machine in AWS, but it provides a lot of features. So if I talk about what is EC2, so it comes with the feature. First is AMI. It is a pre-configured template. So let's say example, if you want to build your own hardware, you have to first buy your hardware. Then if you have to install the OS, if you have to install the Red Hat Linux, you have to install the Windows. So you have to do all this configuration by your own. But if you are using the EC2 instance or virtual machine on the cloud, they will provide you pre-launched, we configured the template for your AMI. So these are nothing with the Amazon machine image. So suppose while creating the EC2 instance, you just need to select if you want OS as a Red Hat Linux, or you want Debian, you want Windows. So you have to just select the template, and based on that template, the required installation will be done on your EC2 instance. So you can see it will provide you the AMI. It will also provide you the instance type. So suppose when you go to buy your laptop, you will see the configurations. If you want 8 GB RAM, if you want 16 GB RAM, and once you buy a 16 GB RAM, then you cannot change it because you bought complete hardware. That is the benefits of using cloud. So suppose if you are using a EC2 instance, and you can start with a 4 GB RAM, and in future if you feel okay 4 GB is not sufficient, you can increase it to 8 GB, 16 GB, or whatever you want. So you have to just change the machine type, you have to just change the RAM. So in EC2 there are instance types, so the various configuration of your CPU, your memory, your storage, all based on your instance type. So first it will machine image, then you have to select the instance type. Based on the instance type, it will allocate CPU and RAM to your EC2 instance. Then you'll have EBS volume. So consider, you can see the right side height diagram. So each EC2 instance will have the four block. When it will have a compute or CPU power, then it is a memory or RAM, it will have a network component, and it will have storage. So suppose I am purchasing my laptop or server, I'll check how much storage it is having, how much hard disk it is having. It is 1 TB, 500 GB, all these things I check. In similar stuff, if we are creating the EC2 instance, you have to attach EBS volume to that, and EBS volume size we can configure 20 GB, 50 GB, 100 GB, whatever size you want. You can just attach that persistent storage volume, or it is called the EBS, that is Amazon Elastic Block Store volume, to your EC2 instance. Okay, then you will have key pairs, so these are used to search into your instance. You will also have security group. Security group will help you to allow a traffic, inbound traffic as well as outbound traffic, to your EC2 instance. So that was a bit a theoretical part about EC2 instance. So just remember one line: EC2 instance is nothing but a virtual server in AWS cloud. So whenever you want to create any virtual server, you just go to EC2 instance, you select the configuration whatever you need, you select the OS, AMI, whatever you need, and you just create your server within a fly. So I'll just go to AWS console, and I will try to create my first EC2 instance now. But always remember this four block: compute, memory, network, and storage. So I'll show you while creating my EC2 instance how these four block will work together in EC2. Let me go to the cloud console now. Now I am in my AWS cloud console. So I already in a region Mumbai. You can choose any region you want. AP South 1, I'm in AP South 1 Mumbai. I'll go to EC2. So if you don't see that on the first page, suppose if you are not seeing this EC2 on your first page, here on this dashboard, you can simply type in a search option. So here you will have search option. Here you can type EC2, and you can simply click on EC2. So here you will see currently I do not have any instance running, so there are zero instance I'm having currently. So let me launch a new instance. So I'll go and launch instance. Okay, so first I have to give name. What should be the name of my instance? So I'll just give first EC2. Okay, so I'll just use my first EC2. You can add any additional type. Suppose you want new talk. This is my dev environment, so I'll just add environment, and it is my dev environment. Okay, so it will be my just additional tag. Then OS. So what OS you need? So by default, Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat, all options you are having, and you can browse all options here. Okay, but this is free tier eligible, so by default I will go with this Amazon Linux. Okay, because I don't need to pay anything for this for certain amount of time, so I'll go with the Linux AMI. So you can see this is free tier available, free tier eligible, so I'll select this AMI. So this is your AMI. So what, while discussing on the feature, the first point was AMI, so I selected this AMI. Architecture 64-bit. This is AMI ID. Username by default EC2 users, so remember this username as well. Now instance type. So based on this instance type, it will show you a CPU and RAM. Now T2 micro is having one CPU, 1 GB memory. Suppose I want a larger machine, so I can go here and I can select other machine type. So suppose I want larger, so I can go with 2 GB memory. If I want again 4 GB, I can go with T2 medium. If I want large, I'll go with 8 GB. So based on that, the cost also will increase. You can see the cost also. So this is free tier eligible. It is having the cost for Linux base 0.0124 per hour. If I go with bigger one, this is 0.12. So cost, it will per hour cost. So based on your selection of machine type, it will increase your cost. So I'll go with a default T2 macro, which comes with first one CPU, 1 GB memory, and it should be sufficient from this my demo. Okay, now key pair, this is required for login, but I will not select any key pair and I'll go with without key pair. Okay, I'll show you why as well. And I will not change anything because each of the region will have their own default VPC. Okay, so if you don't want to use a default VPC, you have to configure your own VPC. So if you want to know how we can configure our own VPC, you can just check my previous videos on networking and you will get complete understanding of how to configure a VPC and subnet. For this demo, I'll go with a default VPC. So here the security group. So if you're talking about, there were section for security groups as well. Okay, so it will help to define a rules for inbound and outbound traffic. So if you click on allow SSH, it will allow traffic from anywhere from the internet on port 22. So we'll just create security group with anywhere 000. Okay, so to start with, I'll just create with port 22. And configuration, so storage, you can see the root volume. So this is of the 8 GB root volume I am using, so you can change it, you can increase the size. This is for storage. Now see all the blocks here. First feature AMI, okay, second instance type, key pair, networking, and this is storage. So all blocks we covered here. Now we can simply go and launch our first instance. Okay, so this is launching my first instance. It will take hardly a minute to create your server, and your virtual server is ready and available now. So let's go. It is in pending state, so it will take few seconds to be in a running state. Okay, it is in a running state now. So let me just open and try to connect. Now I want to SSH into this EC2 instance. So if I go to connect, I will have multiple options here. So I'll talk about all these options in my next video, which option, when we should use which option, but this is the most easiest one, EC2 instance connect. So I'll simply go to ECS instance connect, and username the same one which we saw while creating, this is the default one, and I'll simply click on connect. Okay, now we are within our EC2 instance. So that's how we created our EC2 instance. Now we'll see how we can install our Nginx application on this EC2 instance. So I'll just install a dummy Nginx which is having a default welcome Nginx page. So just do sudo yum 8-y yum install nginx. Why? So it will just install the nginx here. Now I'll just do sudo systemctl start nginx. I'll enable it. Okay, and I'll also check the status if it is running. Okay, so it is active and running. So if I go to the public IP of this instance, I should see a welcome nginx default nginx page. Okay, so let me go to the instance, and where is the public IP? Okay, this is the public IP. So if I click on open address, it will first keep loading. I'll tell you why. Okay, so first thing is we are using a direct link, so it will go to the HTTPS, but we need HTTP because we do not have any SSL certificate for our server. Okay, and second thing, we have enabled traffic only on port 22, so this nginx will run on port 80, that is default HTTP port. Okay, so I'll first try to see if HTTP will work. So even HTTP will not work and it will throw an same error. So to make this work, we have to enable traffic or allow traffic on port 80 as well. So we'll see the security group used by this EC2 instance. Okay, we'll go to security. Okay, and here you will see the security group, and we have traffic only on port 22. Okay, so let me just go to this security group, and I will just allow the traffic on port 80 as well. I'll just click here. I'll go to inbound rule. Okay, I'll just read it. I'll just add, and I will allow traffic on HTTP port as well. So by default it took 80. I'll allow traffic from all the internet. I'll just save my rule, and let me reload this now. Okay, now you can see welcome to nginx. It is showing our message. It means my default application is working now. So in this way you can install any web application. You have to just allow the traffic on that port and do some kind of configuration. So that's it for this video.